She just wanted to buy some bread, rice, and cookies for her grandson. But instead of compassion, she was met with humiliation. Coins. Oh, all right, the cashier muttered with a forced smile, glancing at the growing line behind her. Her hands trembled, and the boy lowered his eyes. The scene was becoming unbearable. What no one realized was that just behind her in line stood a quiet man in a black jacket, watching the scene unfold with a piercing gaze. What he did next would catch everyone off guard, and might just bring you to tears. The sun beamed down, but a soft breeze made the warmth more pleasant as Rosa and Noah made their way to the grocery store. Her outfit was simple and worn from many years of wear, yet it was always spotlessly clean. Noah gripped her hand tightly, his curious 7-year-old eyes full of wonder and excitement. He stared in amazement at the tall aisles packed with items, most of which rarely made it into their kitchen. Rosa scanned the price tags with care, picking out each item like it was an important decision. Inside the cart were just the basics, a bag of rice, a carton of milk, and a loaf of bread, only the bare necessities she was sure she could manage. Meanwhile, Noah's attention was drawn to the bright, colorful packaging of the sweets section, his face lighting up with enthusiasm. As they passed by the cookie shelf, Rosa paused for a moment. Her eyes landed on a box she instantly recognized, chocolate cookies in a blue and white wrapper. Her chest tightened, and a wave of emotion swept over her as she thought of Hannah, her daughter. Hannah always picked out that exact kind for Noah. 3 years had passed since the tragic accident that took Hannah's life, leaving the family in shock. Rosa hadn't had the luxury of grieving, she had to stay strong for Noah. The promise she made to Hannah still echoed in her thoughts each day, to care for Noah and bring as much joy into his life as she could, even if it meant putting herself second. "Grandma, these are the ones Mom used to get me. Can we buy them?" Noah asked, his eyes shining with a nostalgic smile. Rosa felt a lump form in her throat. That look on his face made all of her sacrifices feel worthwhile. But she also knew their budget was tight. After a moment of thought, she gently placed the box into the cart. She could almost hear Hannah's voice encouraging her to keep that spark of happiness alive for Noah, no matter what. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied with a gentle smile, hiding the worry behind her eyes. The narrator, as if watching from afar, shared the sentiment with quiet empathy. Rosa had a strength about her. She had endured the heartbreak of losing her daughter, battled through financial strain, and learned to live more simply. Yet Noah never felt the burden she carried. Living on a small pension with limited means, every shopping trip required careful thought, a balance between what was essential and what could bring a small moment of joy. Still, turning down Noah's hopeful eyes felt like an impossible task. As they neared the register, Rosa quietly counted the coins in her pocket, her heart heavy with doubt that it might not be enough. She would do anything to protect that smile on Noah's face, but she had no idea what was about to unfold. With a cautious step forward, Rosa approached the checkout line, trying to stay composed. She began placing their few items on the counter, while Noah, beaming, clutched the box of cookies in both hands. "These are the ones Mom always got me," Noah said with a proud grin, looking up at her. Derek, the cashier, looked exhausted and disinterested. He glanced over at Rosa's cart, his expression changing as soon as he spotted the coin pouch in her hand. Letting out a loud, theatrical sigh, he made sure his frustration was noticed by everyone nearby. "Coins? Really? This isn't a bank, lady," he muttered, folding his arms. His irritated tone made Rosa's anxiety spike. With trembling fingers, she began to count her coins. Noah watched the exchange, his eyes darting between his grandmother and the cashier, sensing something wasn't right. Derek kept going, his words landing without concern for how they hurt. "You couldn't count those before coming here." "Now everyone's stuck waiting," he added, shaking his head as he glanced at the line forming behind them. "Hope you all brought snacks, this could take a while." Whispers started among the waiting customers, and Rosa felt her cheeks grow warm with embarrassment. She tried to speed up, but the pressure only made her hands shake more. "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely loud enough to hear, still focused on the coins. Derek let out a mocking laugh and fired off another insult. "Ma'am, next time please try to be prepared in advance, it helps avoid delays." A man standing nearby tried to speak up. "Hey, that's uncalled for. Let her take her time." Derek shot back with a smirk, "Feel free to come count them for her, champ. In the meantime, I'll keep the line moving." Noah gently tugged on Rosa's sleeve, noticing how tense she had become. "It's okay, Grandma," he said softly. "Don't be upset," he murmured gently. Rosa gave a small nod, doing her best to stay composed as she counted the remaining coins in her hand. It became clear to her, there just wasn't enough to cover everything. She drew in a deep breath, trying to keep the tears at bay. Her eyes shifted to Noah, who was still clutching the pack of cookies. In a trembling voice, she said, "We'll skip the cookies. Just the rest, please." Sensing what was happening, Noah forced a smile, hoping to ease the tension. "It's okay, Grandma. I didn't really want cookies today anyway," he said softly, his words filled with quiet warmth. Rosa felt her heart sink. She recognized his attempt to shield her feelings, even though it clearly meant something to him. Derek snatched the cookies with visible disdain and tossed them aside. "Well, finally," he muttered, rolling his eyes. He glanced at the people waiting in line behind Rosa, then added with a mocking smile. "Appreciate your patience, folks. Some people just haven't figured out how to shop." There were a few uneasy chuckles, but most remained silent, clearly disturbed by the scene. Derek continued, still pretending to speak to Rosa, though it was obvious he was addressing the crowd. "Things would go a lot smoother if folks came prepared when they decide to shop." Rosa tried to ignore him, her attention still on the coins, but her hands were shaking more than ever. Noah reached over and squeezed her hand, doing what he could to comfort her. Derek, catching her reaction, decided to throw in another insult. "Ma'am, just a heads up, if you're on a tight budget, it's better to be mindful of what you add to the cart." Just then, a tall figure in a black jacket stepped forward from the line. He removed his sunglasses slowly, revealing a firm, unwavering expression. His very presence changed the atmosphere. "That's enough," he said, his deep voice cutting through the silence of the store. Though calm, his words carried weight, and the room fell still. Every head turned, even Derek's, who now seemed to understand someone had been watching all along. It was clear the moment to intervene had come. As Rosa quietly tried to finish counting, Derek kept up the sarcasm. "Maybe she should come back when she actually has the money," he said, scanning the line behind her as if looking for support. "Not like anyone here has time to waste." Rosa kept her gaze down, saying nothing, while Noah clutched the cookies tighter, his eyes darting nervously between his grandma and the cashier. He sensed something wasn't right, though he didn't know what to do. Derek continued, voice rising with impatience. "Seriously, ma'am. Do you think this is your personal checkout lane? People are waiting. If you can't pay for everything, maybe don't take so much." The tension in the store thickened. Some customers muttered quietly, disapproving of Derek's tone, while others simply watched in uncomfortable silence. That's when the man in the black jacket stepped forward again. He had been observing for a while, his sharp gaze locked onto Derek. And when another rude comment slipped out, he decided to speak. "Is this how you normally treat people? Or is today just a special case?" he asked, voice steady but firm. Derek looked up, startled by the sudden challenge. "And who exactly are you?" "Her attorney," he sneered, trying to hold on to his authority. The man removed his sunglasses entirely, revealing a look of quiet intensity. "No," he replied plainly. "Just someone who doesn't put up with disrespect." Whispers began spreading through the crowd. Some people were starting to realize just who was standing before them. But Derek didn't catch on. He rolled his eyes and tried to shrug it off. "Come on, this isn't about disrespect. I'm just trying to keep things moving. This woman's holding up the line with her change. You think respect is optional? The man asked, his head tilting slightly. She's paying like everyone else. So what gives you the right to treat her like this? Derek paused, caught off guard, but quickly switched back into defense mode. Look, sir, all I'm saying is it's not fair to everyone else standing in line. Fair? The man repeated with a faint, knowing smile. What's unfair is making a grandmother and her grandson feel ashamed just because you're in a rush. Maybe it's time you reconsider what fairness really means, the man said quietly. Derek opened his mouth to respond, but a voice from the crowd cut through the tension. Wait, is that Arnold Schwarzenegger? Someone whispered, loud enough for heads to turn. Derek's face changed instantly, his smugness fading into stunned disbelief. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he repeated, stumbling over the name. Arnold stepped in closer, leaning slightly toward him. That's right, he confirmed. And now you know exactly who's asking you to show people some respect. He then turned his attention to Rosa and Noah, his features softening as he looked at them. Spotting the cookies still in Noah's grasp, Arnold smiled and said, "Those look delicious. I think they absolutely belong in your bag today." Rosa tried to reply, but emotion caught her voice. She simply nodded, her heart too full to speak. Arnold looked back at Derek and said calmly, "Go ahead and cancel this transaction. I'm guessing that takes a while, doesn't it?" Derek, still trying to recover, answered uncertainly. "Well, I mean, sometimes it takes a bit, yeah." Arnold offered a patient smile. "That's unfortunate," he said gently, "because we're going to cancel it now." Derek blinked, confused. "Cancel? But, you already paid." Arnold gave a casual shrug. "I did. But I've got a better plan. I want to make a real purchase, something that actually matters." He looked at Rosa and Noah. They deserve far more than this moment. Then, turning back to Derek, he added, "And you, Derek, should take this time to think about the way you treat people." With that, Arnold smiled at Rosa and Noah. "Let's get another cart and do some proper shopping, shall we?" He looked at Noah. "And you, buddy, you're picking out some toys too." Rosa gently shook her head, her voice trembling. I can't accept this. It's too generous." Arnold took her hand in his, speaking gently. "You've given so much of yourself for him. Now it's my turn to lend a hand. Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is let someone help." Noah looked up at her with hopeful eyes. "Can we, Grandma? Please?" Rosa exhaled slowly and nodded. "Thank you. From the depths of my heart." Arnold grabbed a cart and started down the aisle with them. Rosa hesitated at first, unsure what to take, but Arnold encouraged her with a warm nod. "Get what you need. Don't even think about the prices. We're making sure you and Noah are taken care of." Noah's face lit up as he pointed out toys and favorite treats. Arnold chuckled. "If Grandma gives the okay, it's going in the cart." As the cart began to fill, Arnold glanced once more at Derek. "Derek, just remember this, kindness is what truly changes the world. Maybe let that sink in while you cancel that receipt." The customers watched in stunned silence, many visibly moved by what they were witnessing. Rosa clung to Arnold's arm, while Noah held tightly to the overflowing cart. "Let's check out," Arnold said, stepping up to the register to handle things personally. He made sure everything was processed smoothly. Rosa and Noah followed, their cart full of groceries, clothes, toys, and essentials. Noah, brighter than he'd looked in ages, held a small toy truck close to his chest, as though afraid it might disappear. "We'll take it all," Arnold said, his voice steady as he addressed the cashier, who was someone new, now that Derek had been sent off to the stock room. The new cashier, clearly touched by what had unfolded, quickly finalized the sale. Rosa, still teary-eyed, held on to Arnold's arm and looked at him with disbelief and gratitude. "This is too much, Arnold," she whispered. "I'll never be able to repay you." Arnold gave her a reassuring look. "It's not about payback," he said. "It's about doing what we can when it matters. You've given your all to Noah. Let me give something back in return." Around them, the remaining customers began to applaud, some even calling out in admiration. "This is unbelievable," one said. "He's more than just an actor, he's the real deal," another added. "Bravo, Arnold." An older woman approached Rosa, gently taking her hand. "My dear, you deserve this," she said softly. "He's done something beautiful today. Keep caring for that boy. And remember, you're never truly alone." Rosa thanked her through her tears, overwhelmed by the kindness. Noah looked up at Arnold with shining eyes. "Thank you, sir," he said, his voice filled with awe. "You're like a real-life hero." Arnold bent down to meet his gaze, a gentle smile on his face. "You know, Noah," Arnold began gently, "true heroes are the ones who show up for the people they care about, just like your grandma does for you every single day." As everything played out, Derek, who had been watching from afar, finally gathered enough courage to walk over. He looked visibly uncomfortable and struggled to find the right words. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I had no right to treat you that way. I was out of line." Arnold looked at him for a moment, his expression calm and free of judgment. In a composed voice, he responded, "You don't need to know someone's full story to treat them with dignity. Being kind is a choice, Derek, and it's one we all have the ability to make. Let this be the moment you choose differently." Derek lowered his gaze, clearly affected by Arnold's words, and headed back toward the stockroom, quietly vowing to change his ways. In the days that followed, Rosa was still trying to make sense of everything that had unfolded. She and Noah were at home, putting away groceries, when the phone suddenly rang. The call came out of nowhere. "Hello?" Rosa answered, a slight nervousness in her tone. "Hi, Rosa, it's Arnold," came the unmistakable voice on the other end. Rosa nearly dropped the phone in surprise. "Arnold? I wasn't expecting to hear from you. I hope everything's all right." "I'm calling because there's something I'd like to share," he said warmly. "I've spoken with a few people, and we've decided to do more to support you and Noah. I want to take care of his education. He'll have access to the best opportunities we can offer," Arnold added. Rosa paused, stunned, as she tried to take it all in. This is more than I ever imagined. "I don't even know how to thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "There's no need," Arnold replied kindly. "Just keep doing what you already do so beautifully, being the incredible grandmother that you are." Meanwhile, word of what had happened between Arnold and Rosa was already spreading like wildfire online. A shopper had captured the entire moment on video, the one where Arnold stepped in, and before long, it had gone viral. Thousands of comments poured in across social media, filled with messages of encouragement and admiration. "This is exactly the kind of inspiration the world needs," one user wrote. "Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a guardian angel among us. Stories like this remind me to lead with kindness every day," another person shared. The grocery store didn't stay the same either. Moved by the powerful message of the video, the store manager rolled out new employee training programs centered on empathy and respectful service. Derek, who had been at the center of it all, offered to lead the sessions himself, eager to take responsibility and help create a better environment. He later approached Rosa again, this time with genuine remorse in his voice. "I didn't realize what you were dealing with. That doesn't excuse my behavior, but I want you to know I'm doing my best to change." Rosa accepted his apology, deeply touched by the sincerity he showed. A few weeks later, Rosa and Noah were spending the afternoon at the park. Noah, holding a brand new soccer ball he'd chosen on their last shopping trip, darted across the grass with a huge smile on his face. Rosa sat quietly on a nearby bench, her heart full, watching him with a peaceful joy she hadn't felt in years. As she admired the moment, a black car slowly pulled up nearby. Arnold stepped out, dressed in comfortable clothes, holding a small box in his hands. "Hey, Rosa. I thought you and Noah might appreciate this," he said as he handed her the package. Inside were framed photos of her and Noah, taken on the day at the store, both of them smiling, with a note tucked beside them, to remind you that kindness always wins. Rosa threw her arms around him, overcome with gratitude. "You didn't just change our circumstances, Arnold, you gave us hope." Arnold smiled warmly and replied, "You've inspired me too, Rosa, just as much as I hope to inspire you. Keep being amazing." If this story touched your heart, there are many more waiting to uplift you. Click the screen to explore more stories filled with hope, kindness, and resilience.